Used to be, when you look at volunteerism in younger adults, it's almost like a trajectory to their career. How is this going to help them get to their next career? And we viewed it with older adults, it was always viewed as sort of a means to an end. And what we found through that study is that is not the case, that by volunteering as an older adult, you do have a growth pattern. A lot of our tutors have gone back to work, have joined book clubs, have volunteered in other organizations or groups that are of interest to them. So that social connection has come back for them in a lot of ways. So I think there's benefits that we don't even see.
Hello, and welcome to Not Born Yesterday, a podcast dedicated to older adults and the challenges and joys of aging. I'm Miriam Goodman.
Not Born Yesterday is brought to you by Next Village SF. Next Village SF is a local nonprofit providing older adults in the northeast neighborhoods of San Francisco with support to help them age in place. I'm your co-host, Lynn Winter-Gross.
As hard as these past 2 years with COVID have been in our lives, it's been particularly hard on young students, specifically those in elementary schools. With only online classes available in many cities, younger students have fallen behind in reading and other subjects so necessary for learning. The AARP Foundation's Experience Corps is an intergenerational volunteer-based tutoring program that's proven to help children become great readers by the end of third grade. The group inspires and empowers adults 50 and older to serve as tutors in their community, and the results have been a win for the students and a real sense of accomplishment for the adults.
The AARP program ensures volunteer success through extensive training, peer networks, and ongoing evaluation for the tutors. Experience Corps uses a structured, evidence-based model that improves the overall reading ability of students by building their fluency, accuracy, and comprehension skills. And it's not only the kids who are reaping the benefits. A recent study found among seniors, tutoring might help delay or even reverse some of the signs of aging in the brain.
Sandra Strang is the program director of the AARP Experience Corps in the San Francisco Bay Area. With a master's degree in education, she's had a lifelong career working in both private and public schools.
Joining Sandy today are Dawn Wright and Tom Newland, successful AARP tutors. Dawn has been tutoring virtually and Tom has been tutoring in person. Welcome, Sandy.
Thank you both for having us here today.
For several years, AARP has been bringing adults into schools to tutor students. Why is it good for younger students to be tutored by older adults?
Well, as you know, we're an intergenerational tutoring program, and a lot of our kids do not have a grandparent or an older adult in their life, and this bridges that gap for them. For our older adults, it helps immensely by connecting with young students and helping them read. A lot of kids don't have that one-on-one connection with an older adult to sit with them and read and take interest in their interests and become fluent readers.
So what's special about older adults versus college students or high school students tutoring these kids?
Experience. I think the gift that our tutors give to our kids is a lifetime of their journey and their path through their education, through their work experience, to their life experience. So it's more than just the reading program that benefits our kids. It's their life experience that they hear from our seniors.
So what are some of the benefits for the tutors?
Should I let you tutors speak to that?
Sure.
This is Tom Newland, who's a tutor. Where are you based, Tom?
I am just north of San Francisco is where, and I did 1 year. I've just been tutoring 2 years now, 2 school years. And the first year was a pandemic Zoom year. And so I had 2 students via Zoom, a first grader and a second grader. And I had to learn Zoom and the whole thing myself. So that was, and learn the tutoring curriculum, which was kind of interesting. And it went well. And I had nothing to gauge it on, no prior experience as far as the tutoring went. So I started in the Zoom world. And then this past year, I was on site at a school with 2 third graders twice a week. And for me personally, it was much more gratifying sitting with the students one-on-one with them and really the amazing thing for me was just to connect with young people at that age and kind of try to see for a moment life through their eyes and what they're experiencing. And it became much more than just a 30-minute session of reading going through the curriculum that's very structured. It actually became more than that. And, they always had something to tell me about their weekend or about their day or what they were going to be doing. And that became as important or more important than the actual reading that we were doing together, was just to hear what they had to say, what was going on in their lives. And then occasionally sharing some things about mine, but more so it was hearing what they had to say about their lives.
Dawn, do you want to contribute as well?
Sure. Like Tom, I was kind of a Zoom newbie, had done it a few times with the family. And because of the support and the resources that Experience Corps gives you, it's like, hey, I'm almost an expert, almost now in Zoom. And the kids see us learning Zoom just like we see them learning how to read. And so there's kind of an exchange there of, oops, we didn't do it quite right. Let's try it again. And that was really positive for me.
I think what we hear so much from our tutors, just like Tom and Dawn were just saying, that connection that they make with a kid is so important. It's the reading is why we're all there, is to get these children to be fluent readers, to be able to read like they speak, because that is the key to comprehension, which is our whole goal. But the other thing that happens just through natural connection with another human being is the feeling of worth, that those kids feel heard. Our tutors feel involved in making a difference in their community. And what we're hearing is, we had a luncheon recently to thank all of our folks for taking this time with our kids. And a lot of the comments that we got back, we put little index cards out, and a lot of them said, it's the best part of my day. It gets me out. I get a commitment. I know what I'm doing every Monday and Tuesday morning, and seeing the same child, or whatever day it is that they happen to be serving the kids. It helps with just not only connection, but physical well-being, mental well-being.
Every article that we research and everybody we talk to says volunteering is so important for seniors. It's something they really need to do. And I can't tell you how many people have told us personally, well, I don't know how to volunteer, or I don't think I have any skills. So I was interested in reading that you provide very specific training for your tutors. Could you tell us what that is?
We do. We go through the structured tutoring session. It sounds more complicated than it is. It's very simplistic, but it's learning how to play these 5 different games or activities with kids. We start out with something called echo reading, and that is really to give the child comfort and the tutor comfort. They can hear the tutor reading the passage, and then the child echoes back what was read. Then there's a number of other games, like a funny voice one. A lot of the kids love that. You have a silly voice and you're reading the passage with kids. That's always seems to be a big hit. And there's some fluidity around that. They can pick what games the tutor can, knowing their child and their student, which one they want to do. But once you get that down, and we give support throughout the program, we provide right on campus. If we have site coordinators. So if somebody's having any problems, there's staff there to help out. On Zoom, we always have a monitor in the background that is primarily for security reasons. But we also have a very tech savvy young man named Matt Tran, who is often there to troubleshoot any technology issues for us. So we're constantly supporting the tutors on this program. And I think these two could speak to that more than myself, that how simplistic it does become and how anyone can do this. We provide all the materials and all the time that you need and support. And it's a lot of fun. I think our team makes it fun for the tutors to become involved. But the biggest key is what they give to the kids.
Sandy, I wanted to ask you, it seems that the way we teach reading to students has changed so much since we were in school. I mean, some of us are old enough to remember, See Jane Run. as the way to learn to read. And I know things have changed so much. Is that ever a problem with the older tutors who learned a different way?
It has not been. I think what a lot of the books that we use are nonfiction. So as Tom was saying, a lot of times it's around a real topic. So not only are kids practicing their reading, and I should preface this by our kids can read, they're just not fluent readers. So we're leaving the beginning building blocks of reading to the professionals in the school. We come in at that fluency block, which is right about in the middle of they have the sounds, they're now blending the sounds to a letter and making sense of that. What we do is we come in and help those kids that are stuck right at that part, that are spending so much energy on decoding that word, and they're nervous. Many of them have other things going on in their lives that they're nervous about sharing and reading out loud to an adult or in a group. And we come in to help that practice, because the whole message is practice makes permanence. And teachers today are extremely busy, and classrooms numbers are high, and we don't have the time to sit like we used to do when we were kids, to practice out loud in a reading circle. We don't have as much of that precious time that we had. So our tutors coming in and focusing on that practice time with the kids is key to their success and their comprehension down the line to become successful fluent readers. So no, I guess my point is that I think what is nicer is that the books like the Dick, Jane, and Spot that we all grew up with, they may have a place, but kids are now learning as they're also practicing their reading. And hearing about Hero Rats, which is not one of my favorite stories, but it is one of the stories in the series. But they come away with, oh, wow, I didn't know that, or I never knew that about river otters. And so the conversation naturally flows out of interest. Yes, so there is a little difference in that our books are a little more exciting, I think, than they used to be when we were youngsters.
Sandy, we understand how helpful this is for the students. And mentioned earlier, this is good for the adults, as we've heard from you and the tutors. A recent study has found that after 6 months of tutoring, functional MRIs of the brain of 8 of your Experienced Corps volunteers showed improvement in thinking and the ability to organize multiple tasks, called executive function. It's a skill that's crucial to maintaining independence in old age. This is major. Have you seen these improvements in the people you're working with?
I think we have an incredibly vibrant staff of 108 volunteer tutors, but I hear from them that yes, it has made them feel more cognitively functional, and that they're out in the world and being able to make more connections, more social connections with people. What's really interesting about the studies that have been done on Experienced Corps is a lot of volunteerism. When we looked at volunteerism, there was a study done back in 2016 that focused on an Experienced Corps program and what the difference was for people. And they said there was a younger group. They said it used to be, when you look at volunteerism in younger adults, it's almost like a trajectory to their career. How is this going to help them get to their next career? And we viewed it with older adults, it was always viewed as sort of a means to an end. And what we found through that study is that is not the case, that by volunteering as an older adult, you do have a growth pattern. A lot of our tutors have gone back to work, have joined book clubs, have volunteered in other organizations or groups that are of interest to them. So that social connection has come back for them in a lot of ways. So I think there's benefits that we don't even see.
You know, you mentioned people doing this as a volunteer, and I just wonder what do you find is the background of people who want to volunteer? The ones we hear from who say, oh, I don't know how to do it, I don't have any skills. I mean, here Tom told us he was a firefighter. I assume he was not also a school teacher. So what is it that motivates most of your volunteers to want to do this job?
To make a difference in their community, I think, is a big part of it. That's what I hear. A lot of times I do the initial call before I pass it over to the team. And what I hear in those early calls are just, I'm looking for something that I can make a difference in my community. And I think as an older adult, I want to give back to the youth and be able to have their life and share my joy of reading with those kids. So a lot of the common ground is that they enjoy working with young people, and they also enjoy reading and want to share their love of literature with people, with kids. But our tutors come from all backgrounds. We have retired surgeons, we have retired homemakers, we have retired librarians, dentists, lawyers. It's, you name it, we've got them in our pool of people. So it's been a fascinating journey to see. It's not people like myself when I retire, that was a retired teacher. That's not the demographic wholeheartedly of our group. It's really quite broad.
Yeah, Dawn and Thomas, we'd like to hear how you decided to volunteer.
I think that I had so much fun as a parent with my kids. I look back on those days and it just warms my heart. And there aren't a lot of chances to do that kind of thing when you're surrounded by adults and in a professional setting. So the chance to get back and have fun and to use silly voices, was just like, it's such a draw.
Thomas?
Yeah, mine was a little different. After I retired, it's been about 10 years. I'd wanted to give back, so to speak, and I had no clue what it was I wanted to do. And I have a friend who's a middle school teacher, and we would have conversations about kids getting through the entire school system without being able to read that well. And it would just drive me nuts in these conversations. And, it was one of these stories, if I were king for a day, I would do this or do that. And the conversations were frustrating. And finally, a random conversation with someone told me about Experience Corps. And I thought, well, if I'm going to talk the talk, I should walk the walk. And so it was fair bit of time before timing just worked out for me. And I never saw myself doing something like this. And then I made the call and actually got put in touch with Sandy. And then, eventually the timing worked out, and then the pandemic and all that. But it was basically because of a frustration that I had of just seeing, in a very large setting, so many people getting through the school systems without being able to read that well. And I thought, well, maybe in some small way I can help make a difference there.
Dawn?
I'd like to add that all of my tutoring is done by Zoom. I live in Florida and I'm tutoring kids in California. So I have no commute. I don't have to worry about whether school is happening in person or on Zoom. It's all on Zoom. And that's a possibility for people that, would work better for them. You don't have to be in the classroom.
Thank you all for sharing your experiences with us today. I'm sure that many listeners will be inspired and want to help young learners in their communities. Our guests were Sandra Strang of Experience Corps and volunteers Dawn Wright and Tom Newland. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
On news you can use today, it will not come as a surprise that few people dream of living out their final days in a nursing home. American nursing homes were created about 100 years ago as a gentler alternative to hospitals, and they still provide a more medical approach to aging. But staff shortages and high turnover are rampant throughout the industry. And we've all heard stories of how COVID-19 meant many older adults died in nursing homes as the pandemic ran through the facilities at rapid speed.
But even before COVID, most older adults said they wanted to age at home, and a huge majority are already doing that. Improvements in home care means that more people can stay at home longer and stay healthier. But with all those baby boomers now aging, something new and different must be done.
Realizing the strain caring for older people can put on families, President Biden has asked for a $400 billion investment in community and home-based care. While this should address a number of needs of our aging population, some kind of institutional care will still be required. Even with all the resources available, at some point, many of us will still have the need of more support than we can get at home. While there may be many assisted living and continuing care communities across the country, they're often only affordable for more affluent seniors. This leaves nursing homes as one of the few options for those who are the sickest or with less financial support.
With the industry in crisis, experts believe it's time for serious reform. Among the best-known unconventional nursing homes are those affiliated with the Greenhouse Project, a nonprofit that opened its first facility in 2003. Greenhouse properties provide residents with a more home-like atmosphere and a greater sense of autonomy. The home usually serves about 10 to 12 residents, and they each have private rooms and bathrooms, which are organized around a communal kitchen and social rooms. Aides receive special training and are paid above the industry average. This means a lower turnover of staff and higher levels of satisfaction for the staff and the residents.
Some of the facilities accommodate specific groups like veterans or people with multiple sclerosis. Cottages are clustered together, and some are on campuses of larger senior communities. Overall, results show that greenhouse residents are less likely to require hospitalization than those in traditional nursing homes. Currently, there are 300 greenhouse projects operating in 32 states. There are regulatory and financial hurdles when it comes to setting up new facilities, and they do cost more to operate. So the growth of new projects is slow, but 300 sounds like a good start to me.
Reform and innovation in this area is obvious, and the status quo is unacceptable. Something must be done, and we challenge MBA students and other graduate students to see the need and create a sustainable community for the millions of seniors who will continue to rely on such institutions. Most graduate students are required to create some kind of project. Why not develop something that will have a positive effect on the lives of their grandparents, their parents, and even themselves someday? If you know any students looking for new projects, tell them about the needs of millions of older adults. That's our podcast for today. Our thanks to Sandra Strang of Experience Corps Bay Area and volunteer tutors Dawn Wright and Tom Newland. Our engineer is Jason Dahlstadt. Our theme music is from Hook Sounds. You can learn more about Next Village SF by going to their website, nextvillagesf.org. And you can learn more about Experience Corps at aarp.org/experience-corps. That's CORPS. And thanks for listening. We'd love to hear what you think about our podcast. Please contact us at nby@nextvillagesf.org. Be well, stay strong, and remember, you weren't born yesterday. I'm Lynn Winter Gross.
And I'm Miriam Goodman.